Picture this. One of Britain's most recognisable royal figures, Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, allegedly emailing a convicted sex offender from behind bars asking for financial advice, and then reportedly begging that same person for a job as a house assistant after his release. The emails, released by the US Department of Justice as part of the Epstein files, have sent shockwaves through royal circles and raised serious questions about judgment, desperation, and just how deep some of these connections really went. This isn't about guilt by association, but it is about understanding how someone who was once at the heart of the royal family allegedly found themselves in such a vulnerable position that they turned to Jeffrey Epstein for help.
Former Duchess of York Sarah Ferguson has been labelled desperate and a degenerate in the latest instalment of the Epstein files, with emails between her and Jeffrey Epstein revealing she was regularly chasing money and attention from the convicted pedophile. The exchanges seemingly indicate that the disgraced ex-wife of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was very attached to Jeffrey Epstein, telling him he was her pillar.
Welcome to Crown Tea, where we're unpacking what these emails actually reveal and why they matter. If you want royal stories that go beyond the headlines and actually analyse what's happening behind palace walls, you're in the right place. Subscribe now because we're diving deep into the stories that shape the monarchy, and trust me, this one's a masterclass in bad decisions. So, let's set the scene properly, because context is absolutely everything here. Sarah Ferguson, known as Fergie, was married to Prince Andrew from 1986 until their divorce in 1996, but they've remained close throughout the years, even living together at Royal Lodge for extended periods. By the mid-2000s, Fergie's financial troubles were well documented and public knowledge. She'd faced bankruptcy threats, mounting debts reportedly in the millions, and a series of business ventures that hadn't exactly panned out. This wasn't a secret. Fergie herself has been open over the years about her money struggles, so when we talk about her financial desperation during this period, that's established fact, not speculation. Enter Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender who was jailed for 13 months in 2008 after being convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. According to emails now released by the US Department of Justice as part of a massive document dump known as the Epstein files, Ferguson allegedly reached out to Epstein while he was still in prison, and the content of those messages is frankly staggering.
She also wrote, "I am at your service, just marry me, and this, when are you going to employ me? Also, and phew, you still love me." Here's more from journalist Andrew Pearce.
5 days after that pervert was released from prison, Sarah Ferguson was taking her daughters, or offering to take her daughters, aged 19 and 17, to have lunch.
According to multiple major outlets reporting on these released emails, one message dated near the end of Epstein's prison sentence allegedly shows Ferguson consulting him about a financial offer. The email reportedly stated that a man called John Caudwell, the British founder of Phones for You, had offered to give her £10 million in exchange for 50% of her net profits for life. She allegedly wrote that her debt stood at approximately £6 million at the time and asked Epstein, quote, "What say you?" In another email, she allegedly described her situation as so dire that death is easier than this, and that she was about to freak with exhaustion. Now, a spokesperson for John Caudwell confirmed to media outlets that Caudwell and Ferguson were long-time acquaintances who met through charity work, but crucially stated that Caudwell had been unaware Ferguson had consulted Epstein on the offer and that he decided not to go through with the transaction at the time. The spokesperson also made clear that John Caudwell has never met or had any association or correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein, which is an important distinction because it shows Ferguson's consultation with Epstein was done independently and without Caudwell's knowledge. But here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. According to these same released emails, the following year, so 2009, after Epstein's prison sentence, Ferguson allegedly sent another message that appeared to be asking Epstein for employment. The email reportedly read, quote, "But why, I don't understand. Don't you just get me to be your house assistant? I am the most capable and desperately need the money. Please, Jeffrey, think about it." Reading that, you can almost feel the desperation bleeding through the screen. This is a member of the extended royal family, someone who'd held the title Duchess of York and had been married to the Queen's son, allegedly asking a convicted sex offender if she could work for him as a house assistant because she needed money that badly. The email also reportedly mentioned that Andrew had met with David Stern, described as a London-based German businessman who shared hundreds of emails with Epstein, and that he has an update for you. Epstein allegedly replied that he wanted Andrew to meet the head of JP Morgan. Now, it's absolutely crucial to state clearly that mention in the Epstein files does not mean any wrongdoing, and there's no suggestion in these emails of illegal activity by Ferguson. But what they do reveal is judgment that's questionable at best and connections that are deeply problematic. The public reaction has been a mixture of shock, sympathy, and serious concern. Some people feel genuinely sorry for Ferguson, seeing these emails as evidence of someone in such financial distress that they made terrible decisions out of sheer desperation. Others are horrified that someone so close to the royal family would maintain contact with Epstein, especially after his conviction, and consider working for him in any capacity. The media coverage has been extensive, with outlets from The Telegraph to The Guardian reporting on the emails and analysing what they mean for the royal family's ongoing Epstein problem. Royal commentators have pointed out that while Fergie hasn't been a working royal for decades, her continued close relationship with Andrew and her presence in royal circles means her choices still reflect on the monarchy to some degree. There's also the question of whether Andrew knew about these communications, whether he encouraged them, or whether Fergie was acting independently, and those questions remain largely unanswered. So, why does this matter beyond the obvious shock value? Because it reveals just how tangled the web of connections to Epstein really was, and how financial vulnerability can lead people to make choices they might not otherwise consider. Fergie's situation shows us that Epstein's influence wasn't just about blackmail or coercion, it was also about positioning himself as a financial fixer for people in desperate situations, which gave him access and leverage. It's also a reminder that proximity to the royal family doesn't insulate you from making catastrophic errors in judgment, and those errors can have lasting consequences. The fact that these emails are now public record means they'll be part of the historical narrative around this period forever, and they raise uncomfortable questions about who else in royal circles might have turned to Epstein for help or advice without fully understanding or caring about the implications. Here's the reality. Ferguson has faced financial troubles for years. That's documented and confirmed, and these emails suggest that during her lowest point, she reached out to someone she absolutely should not have. Whether that was naivety, desperation, or something else entirely, we can't say for certain, but what we can say is that it was a choice with serious reputational consequences. The situation is what it is. The emails are public, the facts are established, and the questions they raise about judgment and accountability aren't going away. As more documents continue to emerge from the Epstein files, we're likely to see more uncomfortable revelations about connections that people would rather forget, and that's why staying informed and critically analysing these stories matters. The royal family's Epstein problem isn't going away, and every new revelation adds another layer to a story that's far from over.